Well, welcome back, everybody. This is kind of a nice night, a nice class, because it's a little bit lighter feeling to me. This is a little lighter, the retreat's a little lighter, and then after the retreat we do a class on difficult emotions and a class on difficult relationships. So this is sort of the calm, yes, the calm before the storm a little bit. And as usual, we'll start with a meditation. This meditation is the last of the core meditations for this course, the third and final core meditation. And it builds on the other two, the affectionate breathing and the loving kindness for ourselves that we did last week. So I'll ask you to find a comfortable position. And you can close your eyes if you like. And putting a hand over your heart or some other soothing part of your body to remind ourselves that we're bringing not only awareness but loving awareness to our experience and ourselves. And see if you can take a few deep, easy breaths. Noticing how that breath nourishes your body as you inhale and soothes your body as you exhale. And now letting your breathing find its natural rhythm. Continuing to feel the sensation of the breathing in and the breathing out. And if you like, allowing yourself to be gently rocked and soothed by the rhythm of your breathing. Now focusing your attention on your in-breath only, letting yourself savor the sensation of breathing in, one breath after another. Perhaps noticing how the in-breath energizes your body. And if you like, as you breathe in, breathing in some kindness and some compassion for yourself. Just feeling the quality of kindness and compassion as you breathe in. Or if you prefer, letting a word or image of kindness ride on your breathing. And now shifting your focus to your out-breath, feeling your body breathe out, feeling the ease of exhalation, one breath after another. And now calling to mind someone whom you love, or someone who is struggling and needs compassion. Visualize that person clearly in your mind. And begin directing your out-breath to this person, offering them the ease of breathing out. And if you wish, sending kindness and compassion to this person with each out-breath, one breath after another. And if it's easier for you, you can breathe out to others in general rather than to a single person. And now focusing again on the sensation of both breathing in and breathing out. Savoring the sensation of breathing in and out. And now beginning to breathe in for yourself and out for the other person. In for me, out for you. One for me, one for you. And as you breathe, drawing kindness and compassion in for yourself and sending something good out to the other person. You might also try the rhythm of one full breath in and out for you, and one full breath in and out for the other. Feel free to adjust the balance between breathing in and out, or breathing one for you and one for the other. You might try 2 for me and 1 for you. Or 1 for me and 3 for you. Or just let it be an equal flow. Whatever feels right to you at this moment. Letting go of any unnecessary effort. See if you can allow this meditation to be as easy as breathing. Allowing your breath to flow in and out like the ocean, going in and going out. A limitless, boundless flow. And letting yourself be a part of this limitless, boundless flow. An ocean of compassion. And allowing yourself to let go of the meditation and to settle into your body and your own experience. And when you're ready, gently opening your eyes. The formal name of this meditation practice is giving and receiving compassion, but it's informally named one for me and one for you. How did you find it to be? Yeah, meditation's portable, by golly. I have the same experience with this meditation. For me, I can't breathe in for me and out for you. I don't know why. The rhythm of that is just a little stilted. But I can do a whole breath for me and a whole breath for you. Especially when I'm breathing in some kindness and compassion. Somehow that just seems more complete. If I'm breathing in compassion and I'm breathing out compassion, I get stressed out. It's like maybe it's not limitless and boundless ocean of compassion. But yeah, I like that too. I use this meditation practice a lot as not a sitting meditation, but a daily practice when I'm working. When I am mindful of somebody else being very distressed, and I might notice that I feel distressed by their discomfort or suffering or maybe anger that's being directed at me. When I have a mindful moment of that, I am taking a breath in for me so that I can calm and regulate my own internal space, and then directing some of that out. And it's like a potion. I feel like, though of course I don't speak any of it, it is evident in the room, and it is a real help for me to be helpful to whoever I'm working with. I feel like it changes. Maybe it's just their perception they're being heard and listened to. But there's something in me that then is felt by them that softens often distressed people. Particularly, I use it when people are really distressed. And I sometimes use it with my staff when I can feel they're very distressed. I will just try to, radiate some warmth and a kind look their way that is a little more intentional than just the normal kindness that we share in general. Sometimes I will say for example, when one of the doctors will be griping about a difficult either parent, or sometimes it's an insurance company that's difficult, or a pharmacy that is staffed by somebody who doesn't seem like they have been trained in pharmacy. I will put my hand on his arm and I will say, "Do you feel that?" And he will say, "No, what?" And I'll say, "The ocean of compassion. You're standing right on it. It's right here with us." And it's a little cheeky, but I think he gets the point, and I think we all benefit from just like that active little thing to remember, oh, yeah, who knows what the struggle is on the other end of that interaction? Who knows what that grandma brings to raising these grandkids? Who knows how busy that pharmacist is? Who knows? And can we be kind, not only with them, but with ourselves when we feel like griping about it? the image of the ocean of compassion is really alive in my life. I have a little camper, and it is just for 2 people, and it is just basically a big bed, and the duvet cover is ocean blue, because that is my ocean of compassion. And when I sit there, I try to really feel that boundless limitlessness of the resource that compassion can be. That really allows us to have some safety so we can turn toward things that are hard. So we can turn toward suffering of others and turn toward our own suffering and be in a position to hold it and maybe learn from it and grow from it in a way that is less possible when you're not cultivating that. Compassion is a resource in that way. So we're going to just briefly talk about how practice has been going, and I think we'll go around in a circle, and you can pass if you want. You could do a 1-word or a 3-word share, or you could speak more to what your home practice has been like. It's totally okay if what your home practice has been like is no sitting meditation, no active meditation at all is okay. One of the things we're trying to do in this course is see if we can cultivate the ability to motivate ourselves through being kind to ourselves and not through our usual butt-kicking strategies, like, oh, I didn't do it. I didn't do any sitting meditation. I barely thought about this class since last week, That's okay. And maybe by being open and kind to ourselves about that, we will find more room to practice this week. Because the practice part's important. We know the main determinant of how much benefit we might wring out of this work in the end is how much time can we make for it. So open to any and all experience in the last week or in the course in general. Interested in general, but also if you had an experience with the new practices from last week, which were the loving kindness meditation, or the compassionate letter. I am curious if anyone at any point in the week wrote themselves a love note, a post-it note. And it's interesting what you say about the sitting. Sitting is not for everyone. It isn't everyone's favorite or most successful way to cultivate compassion. Some people really need to incorporate movement, and we'll do more of that on our retreat day if you're here on Saturday. Those might, as you continue to experiment, turn out to be your more favored strategies because it won't brush up against that freeze, collapse, potentially. I like that comment, practice creates ease. Whatever we practice, right? Practice compassion and it comes more to the surface, more accessible. Yeah, I feel like the group is the main component. Like everything we're doing in this class, we could do independently. This is all published. You could all buy it and spend a lot less money on it. And it's the alchemy, I think, in the group that really brings it alive. So people debate how much benefit comes from the curriculum or the particular style of the teacher. For me, I suspect a very large portion of the benefit comes from being here together to do it. This class tonight is called Living Deeply, and I was saying earlier it's a little bit less intense than some of what's come before and a little bit less intense than kind of the end of the course. We'll do a couple of exercises and really cool exercise called compassionate listening, which every time I've been through this course is always really juicy, and there will probably be a time during this week where you will find yourself listening more compassionately, and it may cause you to bring an observation about that next week. But for a lot of people, it's kind of an impactful practice. Then we're going to talk a little bit about core values. Why include core values in a mindful self-compassion course? Because the core question of this course is, what do I need? And it's hard to know what you need if you don't know what you value, if you don't know what's important to you. And there's also some nice research that shows if you take the time to determine and affirm your core values, it increases our self-compassion just innately without any other training. So that makes it a good reason to work on it too. What is the difference between core value and a goal? A goal is somewhere you get to, and a core value is maybe a direction that's set. Goals are something we do, core values are something we are, sort of trying to get to it versus already in possession. Examples of core values: compassion, authenticity, integrity, honesty, community, love. One of the things that our follow-up email will include this week is William Miller's Personal Values Card Sort PDF. This is, the idea is that if you chose to print this on 9 pieces of paper like I did, you have a stack of values that are important to me, those that are very important to me, and those that are not important to me. And he has 100 core values listed, including things like monogamy, which I just caught my eye today. And a really kind of rich list. And then the idea is that you take the cards and you sort them into your 3 piles. And I really, really love it. He has acceptance, accuracy, authority, beauty, change, commitment, cooperation, family, faithfulness, duty, courtesy, fun, generosity, growth, honesty, humor, intimacy, justice, and many more, which I just think are very thought-provoking. So I'll include that because I think that's kind of a fun exercise and brings forward a lot of, those core values that are about how we treat others, but also more personal core values as well. It's kind of a fun exercise. And I think, so if everybody's got their pen and paper, I'll invite you to close your eyes. And in your mind's eye, find yourself in the room. And if you can, smiling at yourself in welcome. And as ever, placing your hand over your heart or elsewhere and feeling your body. This body that has been with you for many years, working hard to live a happy life. Imagine that you are in your elderly years. You're sitting in a lovely garden as you contemplate your life. Looking back at the time between now and then, you feel a deep sense of satisfaction, joy, and contentment. Even though life hasn't always been easy, you manage to stay true to yourself to the best of your ability. Which core values are represented in that life? For example, adventure, tranquility, compassion, loyalty, pleasure, meaningful work. Please open your eyes and write down some of your core values. And if you would, write down some activities that make you feel you're living in accord with those core values. What are some of the things you do that are living in accord with your core values? And now drop back inside and ask yourself if there are any ways that you're not living in accord with your core values, or ways in which your life seems to be out of balance with your values. Especially your personal ones. For example, maybe you're too busy to spend much quiet time in nature, even though nature is your great love in life. And if you have more than one value that seems a bit out of balance, for the rest of the exercise, I'll have you choose one that feels especially important to work with. We have obstacles that prevent us from living in accord with our core values. And some of those may be external obstacles, like not having enough money or time, or having other obligations. Please reflect on this for a moment and write down any external obstacles that you can identify that prevent you from being in balance with your core value. And there may be some obstacles that are more internal, that are getting in the way of you living in accord with your value. You might be afraid to fail. You might doubt your abilities. You might have an inner critic who's getting in the way. Please take a moment to reflect and write down any internal obstacles that you can identify. And now consider if self-compassion could help you live in accordance with your true values. Maybe by helping you deal with some of the internal obstacles like an inner critic. Or is there a way self-compassion could help you feel safe and confident enough to take new actions? Or risk failure? Or let go of things that aren't serving you? Again, taking a little time to reflect and writing down anything that comes up. And if you find there are insurmountable obstacles to living in accord with this value for you, can you give yourself compassion for that hardship? And maybe even offer yourself some words of appreciation and respect for holding that core value. Is there some way you could express that value in your life that you haven't considered before, even if this expression is incomplete? And if your insurmountable problem is you, that you are imperfect, as all human beings are, can you forgive yourself for that too? And letting go of the exercise, settling for a minute. We'll break into pairs and have some sharing. So we're going to do one other short exercise before we have a little break, working with our core values. And they're so valuable and important to remember, to have a mechanism by which to keep them present for us, because suffering is nested in our core values, right? If I value skiing on Thursdays at Bridger, and I have a work schedule that prevents me from doing that, then that creates dissatisfaction, or frustration, or crabby attitude for sure. So if we can develop a tool and a practice to keep track of and keep our core values present, we might be in a better position to not structure our life or make decisions in our life that are contrary to important core values. We're not going to be able to live in perfect accord all the time, probably. That kind of perfection's not what we're after. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a core value and try to rework it into a vow. A vow, yeah, which can be aspirational and help us reorient when we're off track, but it can also be like an anchor, like in the loving kindness meditation, that what we come back to is this phrase, but this phrase is going to be derived from what we discovered about our core values. But it might function like the breath in breath meditation. It might be something that we use on a daily basis to remind ourselves of what's important to us. So we're not as prone to getting distracted from that. So I'm going to have you select one of your core values that you might like to manifest for the rest of your life or for this week. And write it in the form of a vow. It might be, may I, or I vow to, as best I can. And once you have it written, I'll have you close your eyes and just repeat it silently to yourself. And noticing how it feels when you set your intention in this direction. And have you let go of the exercise. This will be one of the items for our home practice this week, is to really just experiment. See how it is. Does it feel right? Does it feel too awkward? Does the vow shift as you think about your core values? This is the one thing that I have really been playing with since a few weeks ago when we took our trip to Minnesota, and through the 2-day intensive that I got to co-teach. And the thing that has really been very present to me, even when I am sort of cleaning the cat box, is may I be where I am most needed. And that's been really present with my time with my mom and even my time with my coworkers. May I be where I am most needed. May I be present where I am most needed. And I've really been enjoying that particular vow, that phrase, because I think wherever I am, it feels applicable. Wherever I am, may I be here. May I be attentive. May I be engaged and thoughtful. May I be where I am needed most. So that's just something for you to take with you into the week and experiment with, and we'll see how it falls. And we'll do a poem before our snack. The poem is called The Way It Is, and it's by William Stafford. There's a thread you follow. It goes among things that change, but it doesn't change. People wonder about what you are pursuing. You have to explain about the thread. But it's hard for others to see. While you hold it, you can't get lost. Tragedies happen, people get hurt or die, and you suffer and get old. Nothing you do can stop time's unfolding. You don't ever have to let go of the thread. There's a thread you follow. It goes among things that change, but it doesn't change. People wonder about what you are pursuing. You have to explain about the thread, but it's hard for others to see. While you hold it, you can't get lost. Tragedies happen, people get hurt or die, and you suffer and get old. Nothing you do can stop time's unfolding. You don't ever have to let go of the thread. So the rest of the evening is mostly going to be a compassionate listening exercise, but we're going to do one short exercise before that. And that short exercise is about looking for silver linings, finding value in suffering on the occasions when that's possible, and using compassion as a resource to allow us to feel some safety and have some capacity to turn in the direction of stuff that's hard, to hold that and hold it enough to be able to see if there's something we could learn from it. Thich Nhat Hanh says, "No mud, no lotus." And Jane Hirshfield, who's a poet, said, "Suffering leads us to beauty the way thirst leads us to water." Suffering leads us to beauty the way thirst leads us to water. So I imagine we have all had, experiences we're consciously aware of in our life where we learned something important through a difficult circumstance. We're going to do this short exercise, and then we're going to use what we develop here in remembering a difficult situation that had a silver lining for us in our compassionate listening exercise to end the evening. So as we go through this exercise, just know that we will share a little bit of the content of this with each other in groups of 3, so you're aware as you are choosing. And I'll have you take out your pen and paper to start with. And if you like, close your eyes and just recall a struggle in your life that seemed very difficult or even seemed impossible at the time, and that looking back taught you an important lesson. Try to choose an event that's far enough in the past that it's pretty clearly resolved and you learned what you needed to learn. There's not still learning occurring. And as you're considering options, just know not every dark cloud has a silver lining. Sometimes we learn nothing from suffering. And the triumph is just to get back to normal life. So for the sake of the exercise, see if you can find one where the challenging event did have a silver lining or something valuable that you learned from it. What was the situation? What was the challenge? And if you would, write that down, knowing that your written notes are just for you. And if you would like to, maybe write down a few kind words that validate what you endured. Might be as simple as, that was hard, or this was not my fault. You just didn't know enough to avoid the situation, or I'm proud of you for having the strength to get through that. And then if you would reflect on and write down what deeper lesson the challenge or crisis taught you that you might not have learned otherwise. What deeper lesson did the challenge teach you that you might not have learned otherwise? And then we're going to use that in this next exercise, compassionate listening. This is one of my very favorite things of the whole course. It's so simple. It just seems like, how can this even be a thing that you have to talk about listening to each other? But have you ever had that experience where you're talking to a friend or a family member about something difficult, and before you can even explain really what's going on, they're jumping in and they're offering advice and fixing, and it's really hard to even feel heard because you literally weren't heard. You literally did not finish what you had to say. Yeah. Have you ever been that person who jumped in on someone's story and tried to fix it? Yeah, this happens all the time, and it happens for good reason. It happens because if you're telling me a story of your difficulty and your suffering, my nervous system is all lit up by that, and my nervous system causes me to feel your suffering, and I want that to stop. This is not okay. Like, whoa, this happens to me all the time in parenting, and I see it all the time in my practice. When your toddler has a fit, or your 7-year-old has a fit, or your 17-year-old has a fit, whoa, we're just highly resonant with that. We are just built for resonating with that. And often we act out of needing our own suffering to stop. So compassionate listening is a way to actively listen. I'm sure some of you will have done exercises like this before, but it's not only active listening and allowing somebody to speak without interruption, it's also paying attention to our own emotional interior and giving ourselves some compassion so that we can stay in connection with somebody's difficult experience and can be a much better support to them in that way, and still at the same time be taking care of ourselves. So we're gonna try that here, and then you're gonna go out in your life and you're gonna try it, and people aren't gonna know you're trying it because you don't have to tell them you're trying it. It's just gonna be interesting to see what it is to listen to our kids or our parents or our friends or our work colleagues in this really kind of revelatory way. So there are a few instructions, and then what we'll do is break into groups of 3, and we'll have about 3 minutes each where we will describe for our group what our difficult situation was in as much or as little detail as you'd like. Of course, knowing that you could pass if you preferred. If you know you want to pass, I might put you in the group of 4. And then you will share what you learned. So 3 minutes is not very much time. It'll be the Cliff Notes version. And it's said in this practice that we're going to try to use this as a little bit of a social experiment. We're going to listen without any talking. Some listening practices have people close their eyes as more of a contemplative practice. For this, we're going to keep our eyes open. And we're going to try to listen from the neck down, really feeling what is before you. Really letting yourself resonate, letting your mirror neurons fire off, and so long as that's comfortable, to allow that to be. And of course, you'll be listening with your ears and your eyes too. And it's a chance to physically experience common humanity, just through our mirror neurons, just through the normal resonance that we're built for. But we're going to allow it instead of like getting all clenchy about it and trying to make it go away. If you find yourself, while you're listening, emotionally hooked in or overwhelmed, or you feel like this story is activating your own story in your head and that's creating some distraction for you, that's when we're going to do some giving and receiving compassion like we did in the meditation earlier. When you feel some activation, you're going to breathe in kindness and compassion for yourself, and breathe out kindness and compassion for the person in front of you. Or you might do a whole cycle, a breath in and out for me, a breath in and out for them. And when you feel some settling of that, then you can go back to, very heartful listening. So when you feel some activation, then compassion for you and them, and then that may settle into the background again and you may more actively listen. So let's break into groups of 3 or 4, right? And we'll try to let this be easy and just listening and breathing, and we'll see what happens. Just embodied listening and breathing. What a dream. I'll ring the bell to start. And if you run out of things to share before the bell rings, y'all can just sit in silence with your eyes closed at that point if you want. If the person who is speaking thinks of something else they'd like to say into the silence, they can feel free to do that. And when I ring the bell, we'll come back to silence for 10 or 15 seconds before I ring it again to start the next person. Does that all make sense? So one person talks, everybody else is just listening, and you don't need to do anything but that. The first person can begin. This is called One Morning, and it's by Rosemary, Wahtola, Trommer. One morning, we will wake up and forget to build that wall we've been building. The one between us, the one we've been building for years. perhaps out of some sense of right and boundary, perhaps out of habit. One morning we will wake up and let our empty hands hang empty at our sides. Perhaps they will rise as empty things sometimes do when blown by the wind. Perhaps they simply will not remember how to grasp, how to rage. We will wake up that morning and we will have misplaced all of our theories about why and how and who did what to whom. We will have mislaid all our timelines of when and plans of what, and we will not scramble to write the plans and theories anew. On that morning, not much else will have changed. Whatever is blooming will still be in bloom. Whatever is wilting will wilt. There will be fields to plow and trains to load and children to feed and work to do. And in every moment, in every action, we will feel the urge to say thank you. We will follow the urge to bow.